Well, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is officially the president of the United States, and this has massive ramifications for the cryptocurrency industry in many different areas. We've seen his zealousness towards Bitcoin, and I believe Bitcoin mining is going to become a matter of national security, but it doesn't just stop there. Today I want to talk to you guys about what Donald Trump's presidency means for XRP, and let's start things off by talking about XRP's current lawsuit. Now, the lawsuit is obviously against Chris, Brad, and Ripple as a company. However, of course, XRP has come under heavy scrutiny as a result of this, and it's quite suspicious that they chose to go for XRP, a company that has been and tried to maintain regulatory compliance and a dominance within the United States. Why they would go after this specific cryptocurrency so zealously? There could be an element of keeping retail investors out of the market. We've looked at this big continuation pattern that we ultimately believe could see XRP going to that $19. But the lawsuit was, of course, brought against Chris, Brad, and of course Ripple Labs. And we've seen a lot of progression in regards to that lawsuit thus far. But recently there was an appeal. Now, the appeal wasn't in regards to XRP's classification as a non-security. It was in regards to other sort of legal, technical matters. And because of this appeal, the solving of this appeal could potentially see this lawsuit go on until 2026. If, and this is the big if, and this is why Donald Trump's presidency is so important, bringing in a new regulatory kind of consortium. Why this is so significant is because ultimately he's also said previously that he's going to get rid of Gary Gensler. And Donald Trump has been very positive towards the cryptocurrency industry. So the bad news for the lawsuit may get thrown out. We always looked at this and the fact that one thing that could change this and not see the sort of legal course that XRP or Ripple, Brad, and Chris were essentially now set on by the appeal get changed was something from Congress or a new regulatory regime or a doing away of the kind of management structure of the SEC. That is now exceptionally likely to happen. So I think there's going to be some great news potentially or most likely next year, early next year, in regards to the lawsuit and it essentially being resolved. There was already a win by Ripple, Brad, and Chris. Of course, that was appealed. It's going on the Second Circuit. With a new regime change, that may essentially now be thrown out or take a very different course. A course that I ultimately believe is going to be positive for Ripple and its entire community, and of course XRP, the ledger, so on and so forth. So this is one major aspect in regards to Trump's presidency and XRP. Another massive one is we've came out very zealously and we've spoken about how the United States is ultimately going to use and utilize stablecoins to further the dollar's global positioning. Right now, the dollar is in crisis. It's in crisis for a number of reasons. One, countries around the world are no longer wanting to play its game. And two, there is an unbelievable debt burden that is taking place and only accelerating. And there's a problem with that debt. Who's going to step in and buy it? Now, the buyer of last resort is always going to be the Federal Reserve up until recently. And with the rise of stablecoins, we are seeing them back the stablecoin with treasuries. And we've seen papers from everybody, including the US Treasury, in regards to stablecoins' role buyer of these treasuries. So this in some regards solves a little bit of the debt problem in the sense that we now have a new buyer of the debt markets. And the beautiful thing is these stable coins are global. So anybody that is ultimately using and utilizing these stable coins is ultimately going to be getting exposure and be a buyer of US treasuries. And this is absolutely genius. Again, it staves off the debt crisis to a degree because there's that new buying demand. And as stablecoins grow, and there's lots of reports saying they're going to grow to a multi-trillion-dollar industry, Tether is one of the most profitable operations in the world. It's more profitable than most banks, and it's run by a handful of employees. The problem with Tether is it's not a US agency, and actually in a US company, and actually in the Treasury report, they spoke about regulations and regulations ultimately deciding the winners and losers for the industry at whole. Ripple is in a great position to launch their real USD and be regulatory compliant and championed by the United States to ultimately enable the dollar globally, buy up that debt and actually further the dollar's global dominance, certainly as other currencies suffer crises of their own. And we see in many countries out there the actual use and utility of dollars today. Many countries have kind of dual systems. They'll use the dollar in the same way we kind of use Bitcoin to hedge the dollar's devaluation. Rather ironically that. And in specific to Trump, he's a dollar man. He's came out and spoke about how he wants to launch tariffs on people who essentially don't use the dollar. So he's very zealous about the dollar. Even though he's been very positive about Bitcoin, he's also very zealous about the dollar and its dominance because it gives America the power that it has today. So if there's a way that they can essentially figure out how to further the dollar's role and dominance globally, it's very likely they're going to take it. And hence why we're looking at XRP so zealously, why we're looking at Ripple as a company so zealously. They're likely, once this lawsuit has come to some sort of a resolve, going to go public and become one of the largest companies in the world, in much the same way that a lot of the largest companies in the world come out of the US as tech companies, ultimately ensuring that the US is that powerhouse that it is. Ripple's very much on a similar trajectory. It's a technology. The US wants to not only be a global financial leader, but a technological leader. Ripple is a perfect fit, and thus XRP in regards to enabling all of this. So this is unbelievably huge. So not only is Trump very pro-crypto, he's also very pro the US dollar, and there's a beautiful merging of crypto and the dollar in the form of stablecoins and Ripple with their real USD as a United States company. The stars truly do align, not to mention all the rabbit holes you can go down in regards to institutions around the world already actively working with Ripple as a company. Within the lawsuit, we saw a disclosure, I think it was around about 170 large institutions working with Ripple, and you see them across the board. How many clips have you guys seen on Twitter or YouTube in relation to Ripple and XRP? It's everywhere. Even the likes of Bank America at one point had a patent in regards to instant payments. And you see the likes of Christine Lagarde coming out, all the central banks talking about how they're ultimately going to upgrade their financial systems, and a global reset is needed. This is the reset, ladies and gentlemen, that we're all looking for. There's obviously going to be a massive debt emphasis, and I think stablecoins are going to play a big role in that. You kind of liquefy the debt, if you will. You almost monetize it. It's already monetized to a degree, of course, being something that people buy as a savings in the money markets, but this takes that to the next level. And actually Ripple are also tokenizing the likes of money markets to back their stable coins with. This is huge. Just think about the ramifications that this has for the United States and the financial world and the cryptocurrency industry. Ripple, XRP is going to be a key player in that. Ultimately, when you look at that pattern that we're looking at for XRP, it's a pattern of consolidation and likely accumulation that is ultimately going to set it up to see a 2017-esque move on the realization and the recognition of what's coming. There's going to be fundamental news that comes on the back end of it. You can sort of imagine what that fundamental news might be in the form of the lawsuit and in the form of the actual acceptance and enabling of this technology to take a hold and help the dollar globally and its debt markets. This is phenomenal news for XRP holders that have been nothing short of persecuted, ridiculed. Your time is coming, ladies and gentlemen, and we're putting our face and our channel and our brand behind that. The other very interesting thing is when you look at the United States and how it's formed politically, it's very unlikely at this point that they're going to allow a CBDC. In fact, Trump himself has said if he was to get elected, he vowed never to allow a CBDC. So the question then becomes, what are they going to allow and what are they going to enable? Are they not going to innovate their system? And this is where stablecoins step in. Brad Garlinghouse himself has said stablecoins essentially are just CBDCs. They're programmable, they're regulated, Ripple is compliant in all of these areas and thus XRP. They're not going to allow for a CBDC. I think we'll see CBDCs in Europe and many places elsewhere where they don't have the kind of political structure that the United States does. If they're not going to allow for a CBDC, what are they going to allow? How are they going to get on board and ensure they're a technological leader, a financial leader globally? It's going to be stablecoins. And what is the stablecoin in the premier position, the prime position to capitalize on all of this? It's real USD, Ripple's real USD that ultimately benefits, if you listen to what Schwartz has said on the whole matter, the XRP ledger and the XRP community and infrastructure and ecosystem as a whole. This is unbelievable. And the question you may ask is, well, why would they not attach this to a government agency, which is what the not allowing CBDCs by a central bank is all about? Well, because if you look at how the current financial system currently works, it's a coalition of private operations. And stablecoins are the furthering of that. Ripple is the furthering of that. Winning has huge ramifications for the industry. I even think if Harris won with Chris, it's now potentially wasted donation. Of course, they were hedging their bets there, and somebody had to do it, even though he was kind of backing the very people that persecuted him. But with Trump winning, this ultimately has broad ramifications for the industry and massive ramifications for Ripple, Chris and Brad, and of course XRP, that they're essentially now going to look to use and utilize for their new financial system, maintain the dollar's dominance globally. This new financial system that we're moving towards isn't one where there's just one world reserve currency. It's one where there's multiple things of value that all ultimately interact with one another through a global ledger and essentially enable the internet of value. So that's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. I'm going to enjoy a little bit of sunshine, and I'll see you all in the next YouTube video. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.